What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of the Counterpoise Podcast. Hope everybody's having a good day today. You know what I'm saying? On this lovely Wednesday. Um, Getting ready to go ahead and jump into our show today.
Hey everybody, my name is Malik Foster, another co-host for the Counterpoints podcast, and we have a lovely topic for you guys today. Sam, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Samantha Adams. I am one of the co-hosts to this here Counterpoise podcast.
Yeah, we have a good topic for you guys today. First, we're going to talk about quickly what happened not too long ago, the other week. We want to discuss the TikTok ban. The House of Representatives they officially passed legislation banning TikTok. Just to give you guys a little background of it, so basically, the House of Legislation voted to ban TikTok, giving TikTok a chance to either change ownership from their parent company. I forgot that name of it. Was it by chance or
Dance
something?
fight. Dance
By
fight.
Dance Bite. Thanks, Sam. Dance Bite. 5 months from once the bill's passed to change ownership from that Chinese parent company to another company, or the company will be officially banned from 5 months after the legislation is passed. So that's what it's. That's the legislative part. The reasoning that they're saying is due to spying, um, data and privacy issues. They don't want TikTok collecting data from Americans and stuff like that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just go ahead and jump into it. It's crazy, right? So they want to ban TikTok. What a lot of people don't know about TikTok. So a lot of people know TikTok is a Chinese company. I mean, it's a Chinese entity. It came from China. The way that we utilize TikTok in America is not what it was created for. TikTok was originally created for Chinese students um, to, do projects and show, excuse me, their abilities in math and science, particularly science and things like that. But once it made its way over to the United States, we made it all about, dancing and content and stuff like that. One of the problems that our government seems to have, and it's something that I noticed that both the right and the left side seem to agree on, which is not one of the things that happen very often. Because even when Donald Trump was in office, he was trying to get rid of TikTok, right? And one of the reasons, they talk about how it looks as though the Chinese can utilize the data um, to find locations of people, things like that. So it's almost like it's quote unquote spying, and so spying on the American people. And with the relationship that China has with Putin, I think that's mostly the reason why they don't want TikTok if it's not going to be sold, because they think that this company, Dance Fight, has a relationship um, potentially. I think, and I'm not saying that's what it says, but this is what I think. I think that the government thinks that Dance Fight has a relationship with Putin and may potentially be selling that information or keeping it for China so that they can spy on the United States. It wouldn't be the first time, certainly wouldn't be the last, right? So I think that that right there is one of the biggest issues. The fact that um, ending TikTok and has passed the House is a big deal, right? Because you don't really see them trying to get rid of apps, right? You saw when they had Facebook up there and they started talking about privacy and stuff like that, but Facebook still exists. Instagram still exists, right? As a matter of fact, they merged and they just got bigger, whatever, whatever. Even though privacy was a concern, but they were able to clear that concern. Whereas with TikTok, they're trying to get rid of it. And they've been trying to get rid of it for a number of years. So I think that it's really, really interesting to see, what they're doing and what's going to happen next with that. E?
Absolutely. I think it would definitely be a detrimental blow to a lot of people just simply because outside of just the entertainment value that TikTok also provides, it provides a lot of excuse me, it provides a lot of opportunity for people to gain just common knowledge on things from cooking to any type of thing. Like there's a top for everything, right? So Definitely feel like it would be a resource that would be sorely missed in some regard. But I do understand that what's at risk is greater than being able to just do a quick little look up of some of your favorite destinations, or maybe learn about some new recipes, or get some good little laughs and things in.
Yeah. So, it's going to be more will be revealed. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, how does a bill become a law, right? So, this is a perfect example of watching something become a law. What happens is the legislation is introduced to the House of Representatives. They vote on it. If it passes in the House, it then moves on to the Senate. Then the Senate reviews it, votes on it. If they pass it, then it goes to the president, and the president, if he signs it, it's law. If he vetoes it, it goes back for to fix whatever the issues are. And so if they fix the issues and then they send it back, then and it gets back and it goes back through that process. Remember, it has to go back through the process. Still has to get passed by the House, passed by the Senate, back to the president in order for it to become a law. So, that's one of the reasons why, voting is important. A lot of times people think about the president, but people do not think about who they're voting for their Senate and House. And that's important because those are the lawmakers, not the judges, not the president, the Senate, and the House. That's who makes laws. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next with that. More will be revealed.
Yeah, I wanted to ask y'all both this. Do y'all think um that TikTok should be banned or shouldn't be banned if they find out that um they've been spying or data or privacy issues?
I think that
Yes.
it's. I think the problem is that the thing that they have to weigh is the amount of money that comes from TikTok. Like, so much money comes from TikTok. People literally have quit their jobs just to be content creators on TikTok. So when you're looking at that, you also have to look at how it could negatively impact the United States economy. Like, we already are in a space of heavy inflation where housing is super high, where groceries are ridiculously high, gas prices high, everything is high, but the amount of money people are making on their jobs is not changing, but people are earning money on TikTok. So if you lose that stream of income for all of these people, what then happens to the economy? And I think that our government has to think about that. At the same time, they have to weigh one of our fundamental rights, right? One of our fundamental rights is the right to privacy. Like, I shouldn't have to be worried about being spied on in my own home just for the sake of fun or even for the sake of making money. Like, I didn't sign up to be on a reality show, so if I didn't sign up to be on a reality show, why are people watching me? You know what I'm saying? So I think to answer your question, I don't know the answer. I think if there's a way to regulate it and still people are still able to earn, then yes. Then no, don't get rid of it. But if there's no way to regulate it because it is a foreign entity, then get rid of it. Because our privacy matters way more than anything.
Right, I agree with that sentiment. Like, I agree that our privacy is more important than anything. So, I mean, I think if they are found out to be breaching data and stealing and stuff like that, I think it should be banned. But if not, you gotta let it stay.
Yeah, yeah. And also
Um.
too, oh, thank you for the fave, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. For me, I looked at it and I say, I think that the safety of the people are always one of the things that we all should put first. I also think that unfortunately, because of the way that a lot of cyber things have occurred, that safety has been generally compromised a lot of times. A lot of people don't necessarily know that because of, like you said, the way that the phones are interacting with other resources that allows people to be able to be tracked and other sensitive information to, like you mentioned earlier, can be compromised. And to me, I think like if it got into a point where government officials feel like those type of things are preventing them, I think they should be banned. You know what I mean? But I do understand it. Like you said, it could just be regular everyday people, and having an effect on them could have a greater hold than just having people who have sensitive information on their phones. So I do get it, but I think that it would be a major loss for
Yeah,
society if we don't have it.
absolutely. Gonna absolutely be a major loss. So let's go ahead and transition to the next portion of our Counterpoise podcast. First, before we get into that, I meant to tell you all, we can hear double streaming, right? We're right here with y'all on YouTube. We're right over here with y'all on IG, but I am also right over here with y'all on Tagged. So please bear with me. Y'all gonna catch me doing this kind of stuff, and thank you, all that. And if anybody wants to participate in the conversation, please feel free to go ahead and send us a request, and we'll be more than happy to add you. So you can drop your 2 cents because we do like to hear opinions other than our own. Um, so next we are talking about boundaries, and that's the reason why the title of this podcast is called Limited Access, because yeah, when we talk about boundaries, because a lot of times we don't talk about them, right? Like most of the time, you hear people talking about boundaries. Most boundaries, somebody just crossed the line. You know what I'm saying? And so we want to go ahead and get into it. Um, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna let you pick that one out.
Oh, okay. No problem. Yeah. So when it comes to boundaries, first we could talk about like giving somebody access, right? So I think when it comes to boundaries, there's like certain parts of you, like your personal life, and then your professional life, or business, or work, and life balance, like your personal relationships, whether it be friendships, intimate relationships, family relationships, whatever. And then you have your work relationships, whether it's your boss or coworkers. So I think each area there's going to be certain boundaries that you have to have, whatever is going on. So um, I'm going to pass it to E. I want to fix something real quick.
Absolutely. So to the point that he was just making about the different levels of boundaries and access that you provide, I think this is very critical. One of the hardest things that I think we face a lot of times is finding that boundary, especially when it comes to our professional careers. A lot of times for people who, whether they're in a profession or if they just have a job, find themselves having to work a lot more, especially with today, the cost of inflation, the cost of living, food prices, and things. All are very vital reasons that people are having to work longer hours, working more jobs, working, what I'm saying, side jobs more, looking for more ways to become financially stable and or free in some senses. And so having the ability to set boundaries as to what you allow for to that job or that career have of you is major. It helps with your mental health. It helps with also your physical health. You know what I mean. You may be out feeling like you are not yourself, feeling like you are out of stride, out of commission sometimes because of the strains that your job may provide to you. Mentally, I was just listening to a podcast that a guy was talking about. I think it was Prince Chisholm was speaking on like his mentality of coming into work, due to some of the hostility that he finds that he faces within his own organization. and how that can have an effect on your mentality. So setting boundaries on situations, whether it's because of the access that you're giving to them or the access that they are taking from you, in a sense, is definitely a major point of contention. Some of your personal lives as well, like what you're willing to share with others. What are you willing to share with friends and things of that nature? How much you want to let access into your family to know about certain things and certain things about your, business. Um, that's another level. I don't know if you guys want to talk about one of those two or three topics that I was just talking, or
Yeah, I'll dive in. So I think that it's important to have boundaries, period, both in your personal and professional life, because people will go too far. Like it doesn't necessarily mean they have malicious intent or anything like that, but people will go too far. They will take more than they need to, or more than you have to give, and that's like energy wise, money, time, whatever. So you have to be able to set boundaries. I think one of the things that many people have a hard time with is no, right? Is the word no. Um, I remember a few years back because I like that. I'm just gonna be transparent. I have a hard time with boundaries because I'm a giver, I'm a doer, I like to help, I like to fix things, and my social battery could be done. My energy battery could be kaput, but here I am still like trying. I'm out of gas, right? So one day somebody said to me, Sam, no is a whole sentence. And that resonated with me, right? Because sometimes you have to say no for yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't wish well for the other person, you don't want to help the other person, you don't want to be present or be there for the other person. But sometimes you just got to say no for you because you have to rebuild and replenish whatever it is that you have already spent, right? Like think about your energy and the things that you have, like money. Like you're not going to promise to give somebody, well, people do it, but you shouldn't be promising people money and you ain't got it, right? Because you're just going to end up in a deficit, right? Same thing with your energy. If you don't have it, say no. People that love you should understand, right? And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get an attitude, whatever, whatever. But at the end of the day, how they feel about you taking care of you is a them problem. It's not a you problem. And I think a lot of times people need to have perspective about boundaries that reminds them of why it's important to guard yourself for your own mental health. I have an example, right? I went, because you guys know I'm a criminal defense attorney. I went to the jail the other day on Tuesday, Monday, right? I went to the jail on Monday because today's Wednesday. I went on Monday to see a client. When I got to the jail, I went to an attorney booth and there was a person already in the booth. That person was not my client. And that person told me that they were represented by an attorney. Ethically, I can't talk to them about their case. They're already represented, right? So he proceeds to start asking me questions, talking about his, not even really his case, but really like his lawyer, telling me he thinks I work for his lawyer. I'm telling him I don't. I said, you really need to talk to your lawyer. I can't talk to him, right? We had this conversation and it felt like I was on Groundhog Day because I said it once, I said it twice. When we're in the third round of literally having the exact same conversation, ordinarily I would have it, but I didn't have it to have it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have the mental capacity to continue to engage in this merry-go-round of a conversation. So while he was talking, I got up and walked out. Now, was it rude? Probably, right? Could I have handled it a little bit better? Probably. But he was not he wasn't respectful of my space, right? Like, and I'm not talking about the old app, I'm talking about my own personal mental headspace. I'm telling you that this is what it is and you are telling me that it ain't, right? And I know because I'm on this side of the wall, you don't, because you're not. And so at some point you got to listen, right? You got to listen to what people are telling you. because you never know where you're going to get that information from, how it can help you, how it can benefit you. And sometimes people's tunnel vision can railroad you, right? I know I am a culprit. I have done that before, and it's never intentional for me, right? But sometimes you have to take a step back and recognize that everybody's not obligated to do everything you ask them to all the time, period. You see what I'm saying? No is a whole sentence. And that's both in your professional and your personal life. Because, even with especially parents, right? Let's just keep it a buck. Parents have a tendency to overstep their boundaries when you become an adult, right? Because to them, you are forever their baby, right? But sometimes you have to say, hey, mom, hey, dad, chill. I got this, even if you're in a relationship, even especially if you're in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we have to recognize our boundaries. And yes, sometimes saying no can make you feel away, can make you feel uncomfortable, can make you feel guilty. But you can't allow that to eat you up inside because you're doing it for your own mental health. Now, if you're just doing it to just be a jerk, then that's on you. But if you're doing it literally for your own mental health, for your fortitude, so that you can go on and do greater things, do what you got to do for you, right? Um, you got to do what you got to do for you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to echo those sentiments that like yeah, like when it comes to professionally when it comes to boundaries, I think you need to like set a standard. Like, so if it's your boss, you want to make sure you're not overworked and without a break and stuff like that. Just a professional standard. Like, hey, I do need a break from time to time. It's reasonable to have that. And also, when it comes to your coworkers, they gotta understand how to communicate with you, talk to you in an appropriate manner, so that you have your respect. Because sometimes people might feel like because I'm trying to get a certain position, like a higher position, or if I'm in a higher positioning like manager or point of authority, I have some sort of authority over you and your tasks. I can talk to you any kind of way. You gotta let them know, like, hey, I respect that you have authority, but you can convey things in a better way because everybody's learning from each other, especially when you're working as a team. So I think that's important to just communicate that in not a rude and derogatory manner, but in a respectful, professional manner. I think that's something that people underestimate, and I think that's very important for us to do. So I just wanted to echo on that, and I agree with everything else you were saying, Sam.
Yeah. So another couple of things that we also wanted to talk about when dealing with boundaries is like the way that like you said, that you can't set them. In some senses, Sam, you gave us an example of a perfect way of an informal boundary being set. After a formal one, right? Like you generally stated, hey, I can't speak to you. You know what I'm saying? Formally informing him that hey, this conversation needs to cease. However, they continue to go forward and continue to go forward to the point in which you set the boundary of just removing yourself from the situation. And that to me is a nice example of a good informal, you know what I'm saying, boundary being set where it's just like, I told you no, I don't want to hear it, I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Because you're just not respecting what I'm saying. And I think that that also speaks to, um, the character that a person has. One, for the person to keep trying to violate someone else's boundaries. And then two, sometimes the character of a person who sets the boundaries, right? That might show that they have a set level of respect for themselves and love for themselves because they say that they won't allow certain things to occur in their life. They're not going to allow certain things to move forward and access to people if they don't know how to move appropriately within their lives. So I feel like that's a very critical thing, and I think that's a lot harder said a lot of times than done because of the type of relationships that people may have. It could be family members that you may have to set boundaries with. It could be a parent, in particular. It could be a sibling. You know what I mean? Of course, for the parents, setting those boundaries with children is critical. It could be a spouse, a significant other. Letting them know, hey, what's okay, what's not okay. So I think those things are like some of the more critical ways in which boundaries can be set, and people can kind of help offset things that's going on and protect their peace.
Right. I just wanted to talk a little bit personal level. Like, so, I think when you're dealing with friends and intimate loved ones, you gotta let them know that you do need your space or your you time. Because I know some people can be a bit, smothering, a bit attached. Because sometimes people are extroverts or while others are introverts. So some people draw energy from others, and some people it's taken away from others. So you got to keep in mind to keep that balance and respect that person. I know dealing with an introvert, it can be difficult if you're extrovert, and vice versa. So that's something to keep in mind. You definitely have to communicate that with somebody, let them know, even if you're shy or you're trying to be conservative, or you feel like people should be able to give you a few hints. So um, I just wanted to mention that because that's something that people just fail to understand about the personal relationships. Because I think people kind of understand the other parts. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. When you
Honestly,
talk about,
I'm
go
sorry
ahead, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Honestly, it's easier to keep your boundaries in a professional setting. It's much
Yeah, that's
harder
true.
in a personal setting because you love your people, right? You love your tribe. So when you love people, you're more willing to go bend over backwards. Like it works. Sometimes it's hard, especially when you have a really important job or you make a lot of money. It's really hard when to shut it off, right? Because sometimes bosses will just require so much of you, like you're a robot, and you got to remind them, like, hey, now there's laws that tell you to say you can't do that, or slow down. I gotta go home to my family. Or, hold on, I gotta eat. Like, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to remind them I'm a person, or no, I'm not coming in on the weekend. My job is from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You want me to come in every other weekend? Like, if that's not what you accepted when you accepted the job, don't try to make it a requirement of my job. And sometimes you have to set those boundaries, because people will continue to push as long as you don't say no. But with family, it's much harder. Friends, it's much harder because there's love there. Like with jobs, eventually you be like, pump this, I'm going to get another job. But it's much harder to say, forget this, I'm going to get another sister. Or bump this, I'm going to get another mom. Like that's a whole different type of situation. So it's like you really gotta find find your way and navigating through how do you put the draw a line in the sand and just say, hey, listen, I don't have the bandwidth for this right now. you know and also too, when it comes to boundaries, one thing people often don't do is check with others to see whether or not they have the room for that. Like if you are going through something, you know what I'm saying, and you need to vent. Like I do this with my friends. I had to learn to do this because I recognize in myself that I got so stressed out and tired of people coming to me with their problems when I didn't have it, and they knew I didn't have it, but they didn't care. So I don't do it all the time, but I definitely try to make it a point um, to ask people whether or not they have the bandwidth to hear my stuff. Do you have the bandwidth to listen to me vent? Do you have the time to listen to me vent? Do you mind? You know what I'm saying? Because everybody is going through something. And when you really love and care about somebody, you should also have care and concern for the fact that they too might be going through something, and give them room and space to breathe. Because sometimes your stuff, people will take on your thing, right? So sometimes you want to give people that room to breathe, so that if they have that room, then they can hear it. If not, you need to move on either to a different subject or see if somebody else got you. But either way, it's out of love, and sometimes you got to love people through what they're going through. And that sometimes that means you got to love people enough to say stop when you're ahead.
Right, I agree with that, Sam. I guess my final thoughts on it is when it comes to boundaries, I think you just have to. It's all about communication. You want to communicate with the person that you feel like is exceeding their boundaries, overstepping their boundaries, or making you feel uncomfortable with the boundaries that you thought were established and set. So I think if you can communicate to that person and they understand, good. If they keep taking it further, then you may have to take further action depending on what they're doing, especially if they're doing something illegal or harassment or anything like that. You definitely want to take another step, right? Because you definitely don't want to be uncomfortable. You definitely don't want somebody committing crimes against you and stuff like that. Just generally speaking, that's not legal advice, by the way. Just a disclaimer right there. And I do want to get us into, unless somebody else want to, any final comments before I get into the book.
One last thing. Enchanted made a really good point. She said, we never know what people are going through for real, for real. Sometimes a simple how are you can save a life.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely smile, definitely wave, definitely just be nice, but not too try to be too pushy, right? I think sometimes people are too pushy, but just be genuine, but not too pushy. I think that's always appreciated. So, without further ado, sorry, I'm currently reading. This is a book I'm currently reading, The Wealth Choice, by Dennis Kimbro. I'm almost done, as y'all can see. But I got a little bit of ways to go. I've been trying to read some pages every night. So, once again, it's called The Wealth Choice: Success Secrets of Black Millionaires by Dennis Kimbro. Y'all can pick that up at Amazon.com. It's like 10 books, so maybe more, maybe 15, and y'all guys can check that out. So,
All right, and for our business of the month, excuse me, this week we are, excuse me, this month we are going to highlight Jackson Soul Food, which is a restaurant company down here in South Florida. They have three locations. One located in Overtown, which is on 950 Northwest 3rd Ave, Miami, Florida. They have another one located in Opelika, Miami, Florida, which is on 14511 Northwest 27th Ave. And recently they opened up a location as well in the Miami International Airport. So if you're flying in the MIA, you can check them out at the airport as well. Known for definitely making some really good breakfast food, particularly their salmon croquettes, really good. Um, Chicken livers, all types of things, shrimp and grits. You can find a lot of, like I said, Southern soul food um, goods there. It's a little staple in the community, something that a lot of people always kind of stop by and check in and support. So if you guys are ever in Miami, you guys should check out Jackson Soul Food.
So the motivational for the motivational minute, I don't have a quote. I have a statement. And the statement is be encouraged. The reason why I say be encouraged is because based on the topic that we're talking about today and having boundaries, a lot of a lot of people are going through stuff right now, right? At the end of 2022, a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, 2023 was so hard. I can't wait till 2024." And then life was life and harder than it was the year before. And so, just be encouraged and keep pushing forward because this kind of stuff is not going to last forever. Things can be really hard, really tight. You might not see an end in sight to any of the things that you got going on in your life, but just remember that as long as you keep pushing forward, things will change. So don't give up. Be encouraged. Remember, no is a whole sentence, and stand on your business, stand on your square, and don't allow anybody to take more than you have to give. So, with that, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We know it's been a while. We haven't been on for a while. Life been lifing. We got things going on too. So thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for tapping in with us. Thank you for just always being there. We love and appreciate you guys more than you all know. And so we will see y'all next week. The Counterpoise Podcast. So make sure y'all tap in. As far as finding us, if you ever want to be on the show, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on Instagram, Counterpoise Podcast. You can go ahead and DM us. You can email us. You can find me for my socials, Samantha Renee 77_ESQ or Samantha ESQ _Counterpoise. You can also find me on the Tagged app at SamIam, and it's SAMM, and then it's like a little symbol, and then Yam, YAMM. So you'll be able to find me because my picture gonna be there.
All right. See you guys. You guys can catch us out here next week. Contact me at that guy 2104. Or as you know, you can catch us at Counterpoise Pod. Catch y'all next week.
Or you guys can catch me at Malik M. Foster on all of my social media handles and my counterpoise at Malik_counterpoise. So
Yeah,
make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Peace.
See y'all 8:30 next week. Have a good one.
Yeah.